It's a crazy day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Not only do we have a bunch of awesome Kamigawa Neon Dynasty spoilers to talk about, but on top of that, HATSUNE MIKU is coming to Magic the Gathering. And I have to admit, that's a little bit weird to me.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends! I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered to talk about Kamigawa Neon Dynasty goodness. Now, before we do that, just want to mention Brothers War Lore, best story in all of Magic, link at the end of the video. Now, let's talk HATSUNE MIKU because this is going to be a mixed reaction from my audience. I guarantee it. There will be people watching this video who go, "What? HATSUNE MIKU's coming to Magic? Dude, that's really neat." Or, "That's silly." And then there'll be a bunch of people going, "Wait, what's a HATSUNE MIKU?" So let me get an image up on the screen for you here. You are going to see what is a HATSUNE MIKU. This is her. She is apparently, now, take this with a grain of salt because I'm not 100% up on all my non-existent entities, but she is a 16-year-old android and is just essentially a concept character. So you know how things like Fred Flintstone, the old cartoon from back in the day, has just a human doing his voice, and you have Ronald McDonald who has a regular human dressing up like a clown? Well, HATSUNE MIKU doesn't really have a human component. The voice isn't somebody just speaking, it's like a recorded voice bot sort of thing, and it's just generated graphics, right? So this is a crazy concept that has actually existed for a long time. If you're not familiar with HATSUNE MIKU, HATSUNE is bigger than Magic the Gathering as far as I understand. This is a huge concept that has been around for over a decade and has spawned all kinds of extra things. I'm pretty sure like the current era of HoloLive VTubers and stuff like that owe their existence to this concept. And if you really want to have a head-shaking moment, my friends, if you're not familiar with this character, I want you to understand that there are a bunch of people who have this character on giant body pillows that they lay with and call their girlfriends. Imagine the disappointment of their fathers. But anyways, apparently Wizards of the Coast is doing some kind of crossover with HATSUNE MIKU. Now, I don't know exactly what it's going to be because this image was posted on the French Twitter for Wizards of the Coast, specifically Magic the Gathering, and when you translate what it just says, "We're going to have all the details for you tomorrow around 3 o'clock in the afternoon." I don't know exactly what time zone, but either way, tomorrow, more information will be dropping about this. I fully expect it's going to be some sort of secret layer. That is one of my guesses for this, although it could be some other kind of tie-in. Maybe they're going to have the character doing some kind of promotion. It's really, really baffling to me, though, because you have a Japanese animated superstar android character being shared on Magic the Gathering's French Twitter. Is there a huge fan base for her over in France? It is just kind of mind-blowing to me conceptually what this is overall. Now, you can see there's a bunch of cards floating around her, so why don't we take a look at some actual Magic cards now, my friends, starting out with the dangerous and horrific Blade of the Oni. The idea behind this card and the power level of this card come together so well. 1 black and 1 for a 3/1 artifact creature equipment demon. It has menace, and equipped creature has power and toughness 5/5, has menace, and is a black demon in addition to its other colors and types. And it's got reconfigure for 2 black and 2, which allows you to turn it into equipment and slap it onto creatures and vice versa, right? So you have this scenario where when you first play it before it's equipped, you are getting, for 1 black and 1, a 3/1 menace, which is already really solid straight out of the gates, right? Sure, it only has 1 toughness, but the menace means you're going to have to block it with 2 creatures, and most likely you're going to be able to trade for both of those creatures because this thing has 3 power, at least early game. And later on, you can literally just start slapping this equipment onto your other creatures and boosting them up. And this equipment itself isn't legendary. So you could literally put one of them out and equip it to the other, and now all of a sudden you have a 5/5 demon version of it. I really like this card from a power perspective. I feel like it's really solid that way, and from a flavor perspective, I adore this card. The idea of a demon spirit that is infused into a sword, that is some high level magic. I absolutely adore it. And when you take a look at the sword itself, it's got this ominous aspect, right? First of all, it's glowing with this dark purple energy. But look at the blade itself. It's got like a segmented centipede style feel to it. And you could picture this blade actually whipping out and extending with scuttling legs coming at you. Like, that is a crazy concept. Imagine facing off against some regular 1/1 human who gets infused with this. Basically, they grab the weapon and the demon spirit flows into them and they take on this demonic aspect and they're wielding this centipede blade, flailing it around. And then when you manage to strike this demon down, all of a sudden, the sword itself starts scuttling at you. You had no idea it had its own sentience, and then it merges with another weak little being, and they become that giant demonic presence again. It is such a cool concept, and we have a number of really cool concepts to talk about today. Let us move on to our next card, which is the March of Burgeoning Life. Now, this is a very interesting green card. 1 green and X instant. And this is part of that cycle that lets you basically, as an additional cost to cast a spell, you can exile cards from your hand. We have 1 for each color. So this one is for green. Each card you exile lets you reduce the cost of it by 2, right? And then the spell itself says, choose target creature with mana value less than X. Search your library for a creature card with the same name as that creature. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. I love this for a number of reasons. First of all, it's an instant, right? So you can just do this as a surprise in the middle of combat on your opponent's turn. Oh, are you swinging at me? Well, surprise, I have another creature. I mean, sure, it's tapped, so maybe you want an enter the battlefield kind of ability to go along with it. It's really better from the perspective of play it at the end of your opponent's turn, get that creature out tapped, and it's good to go. But it really does allow for like instant speed shenanigans, which I appreciate. And this isn't a type of effect we normally see with tutoring, going for an exact identical copy. You know, you go get yourself a big juicy creature and then you can get another one with a discount just by pitching some useless card from your hand. I like the potential of this card, although I do admit I might be getting a little overhyped about it, and in practice when I use it, it could turn out to be one of those cards where, whoa, dude, it seems awesome on the surface, and then you try and go, it never lives up to its potential. But I have high hopes for the March of Burgeoning Life, and I love the artwork. I love these kami parades where they have all the different spirits on display. Interestingly enough, this one is very muted. Like, it's called the March of Burgeoning Life, but the coloration of the artwork is so muted and toned down. It doesn't have the vibrancy, say, for example, of the white artwork from this cycle. That one has a very vibrant parade. So it's kind of weird to me to call it Burgeoning Life and then have it feel somewhat lifeless from the artwork. But I love the fish. The fish kami that's floating there like in the center of the artwork was really what sealed the deal and made me go, all right, I love this. Next up, we have a very interesting saga called Inventive Iteration. So 1 blue and 3 get you a saga that the first level does return up to 1 target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. The second level is return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. If you can't, draw a card. I like that they did that because I feel like there's going to be a bunch of situations where you just won't have an artifact in your graveyard. And it really sucks when you have a saga out and you have to wait a full turn for it to move from level to level and to have one level do absolutely nothing. So tacking on the draw card there is a nice touch, right? The artwork shows what kind of almost looks like Christmas wrapping paper to me. I guess it's supposed to be blueprints. The moon folk are experimenting. And so the third level of this is when you exile it and bring it back into play transformed as the Living Breakthrough. So this is a really cool idea. This is an enchantment creature moonfolk. It is a 3/3 flyer. And whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value as that spell until the end of your next turn. That is a very interesting ability, and it could be incredibly frustrating if you have a way to recur a bunch of spells back to your hand and you can consistently cast a range of spells every turn, right? I mean, I guess you could do other kinds of shenanigans too, where if you just skip upcoming turns, if you can skip upcoming, wait a minute. If you had out like a Seedborn Muse and you could untap every turn and you could just skip your turns showing up, then if you played a spell of each casting cost, you could lock your opponent out of the game and they couldn't play spells of any casting cost. This thing is even dirtier than I thought. There's a lot of fun shenanigans you can do with it. But ultimately, underneath the flavor of this card is really cool. The idea that the Moonfolk have made this breakthrough where they've created this being that can essentially enforce its will across the entire plane of Kamigawa. That's how I interpret it, right? Like basically you feed this mana through it and it creates these emanations when you cast a spell where the other people can't access magic that's on the same frequency. And if you have a number of these living breakthroughs, or you're just feeding a bunch of different spells through one of them, whatever it is, you could literally control magic over all of Kamigawa. This really speaks to the power level of the Moonfolk. And I like the artwork too. There's just something about the aloof intellectual nature of the Moonfolk and just the idea of being in one of these flying cities, just sitting at one of these nice open vista windows with a cup of tea or something. It's just got that great flavor to it. I love it. All right, so let's move on to a bonkers card. This is Cloudsteel Corinne. 1 white and 2 for an artifact creature equipment Corinne. It is a 3/2 flyer. Equipped creature has flying, and you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. And it's got reconfigure for 5. So once you slap this onto a creature, that creature becomes a platinum angel. Like on the surface, by itself, okay, it's just a 3/2 flyer for 3 mana, whoop-de-doo. But as soon as you slap it onto somebody, then everything changes. And I picture this as basically you just hopping on the Corinne and flying around with it, and it just protecting you with the force field. Probably actually turns into armor, but I don't know. I just like the idea of flying around in a big old metallic Corinne. I'm invincible! You know, there's just, it's got that appeal to it. Dude, powerhouse though. This card is bonkers. I mean, the reconfigure cost is high, but an equipable platinum angel effect, at least they restricted it to just white, because otherwise this could get like too powerful and too obnoxious. And you know what? It's cool to see Corinnes again, because that's what we associate with Kamigawa. Overall, that was the place we got these creatures from, and they are a very fantastical style beast, right? They hate evil according to the mythology. Anyways, we have another awesome card to talk about. This is Ishin 2 heavens as 1. Whew, what a pickup line. Come on home with me. I'm 2 heavens as 1. If you come with me, it'll be 3 heavens as 1. So 1 black, 1 white, 1 red gets you a 3/4 human samurai with crazy awesome power. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, the ability triggers an additional time. This is bonkers because there's no limits to it. There are no limitations to how many triggers you can copy. Yes, his casting cost is restrictive. 3 different colors. He's not going to be easy to slot into a deck. This guy screams build crazy commander decks around me. But the fact that every time a creature attacks causing a trigger, you get to get an extra copy of that trigger, that is nutty, because it's not even specifically the creatures that are attacking that have to be the ones that have the triggers. It can literally be any permanent that you have that cares at all about a creature attacking. And if you have something that says each time a creature attacks, deal 1 damage to your opponent, then you've got 5 creatures that you swing on with, boom, you're going to do 5 damage. But then this card is going to go ahead and go, actually, you know what? Do 5 extra, 1 for each. The fact that they did not limit this to like a batch, like whenever 1 or more use this ability only once per turn, or should say this ability triggers only once per turn, like you can get nuttier and nuttier. Just start playing craziness like panharmonicon this fellow and just start going with all kinds of different like trigger doublings and get silly in all kinds of different ways. So no matter what it is that's going on, am I bringing things into play? Am I attacking with it? It's all welcome to Doubletown, right? And then you've got the green guy that we looked at yesterday, who also has that effect with triggers, who is absolutely awesome. If you didn't see yesterday's spoiler video, I'll actually leave a link to the entire spoiler playlist up on the screen for you, my friends. I'm having a hard time talking, so it's a good time to go. Big thanks to all my patrons. Links on the screen, and I will see you, my friends, next time.